what I want to show now is taking, it's not fair, is taking our model that we have and bringing it into ZBrush and cleaning it up. So on, oops, that's not what I wanted. On the server, I put the 3D scans inside here. So here's all of the 3D scans. So obviously you just want to grab your own. And I'm just going to import one of those 3D scans. So I'm just going to grab somewhere on here. And I'll just grab, I'll grab Kyle's. I don't know. His looks like a big file. So I'm importing into Maya because I just want to see what the geometry looks like inside Maya. When we bring it into ZBrush, some of the stuff can be a little bit tricky to work with, especially if we have a super small scale. You can see when I brought this in, the scale is like that, barely anything. So when you bring it into ZBrush, we have to scale it up anyway. So I'm going to make this huge, and you'll see there's the model. Okay, so I'm also going to rotate it, because it's a lot easier, obviously, to do this inside of Maya than trying to do this inside of ZBrush. Okay, so there he is. So now what I'm going to do is just delete anything inside here that I don't need. Maybe I'll rotate this a little nicer. There we go. So I'm going to go to Faces. I'm going to just marquee across this and just hit delete. Okay, now the reason for this is look at all these little bits and chunks and whatever else. We don't need all those pieces inside there. That's not going to be something that we would ever print. Even like this over here and this over here, we don't need all this extra data. It's just pointless. So I'm just deleting it. The smaller the file we bring into ZBrush, the easier of a time we're going to have inside of ZBrush. If we try to complicate it, it's going to be a lot worse. And then, oops. And then because we told it to be watertight, it gave it some thickness. So I'm just going to go to Mesh and say Separate. There we go. And so now we have the main piece, and then I have these extra chunks, which I'm just going to delete those chunks. Okay. So now I have the model that we have here. So I'm going to, I need to bring this in as a solid piece. If I don't bring it in as a solid piece, ZBrush kind of freaks out a little bit. I'll show you. Maybe it won't freak out this time, but maybe it will. Alright, so I'm going to export it as an OBJ. I have to go to the right button. I hit import. I believe it also takes FBXs also. Okay, so now inside of ZBrush, I'm just going to go to import and find that file. Mesh cannot be imported. Current mesh is partially hidden. I don't think I'm hiding anything. Display show all. Nothing's there. Yeah. So it just doesn't like the fact that there's nothing else here. So I'm going to go to edges here. There we go. And I'm just going to extrude this down. So I just hit Control E. I'm going to pull it down. I'm going to right click. Shift right click and just say fill hole. There we go. Okay. That way I have an actual, this is now watertight. Okay. And if I'm going to print something, this is going to be a lot easier to print than trying to print it with a wobbly bottom or something like that. So now I'll export this again. Okay, export. And you'll see the file size. We started off with, where was his at? 185 megabytes. And now I'm down to 9 megabytes. Okay, so our file will actually work a little bit quicker because of that. So let's try that again. Export. Unhide mesh points. All right, and when that happens, this is where we go into maybe exporting it as a different file format. I'm also going to delete all my history. There we go. Because sometimes that will cause an issue. Make sure this is pulled out. Make sure the transform's frozen. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to export it again as an OBJ. And then just to be safe, I guess, I'll export it again as an FBX. And if you're unsure about what tools can go anywhere, if you just go to import, and you'll see what goes in there. Sorry, not FBX, a Maya ASCII, which just another kind of file format. All right. So Maya's still thinking here. Still thinking. Okay, so yeah, it's still exporting because it's at 7 meg now. If I hit 5, there we go. So it's going up slowly. Alright, that should be done. Yep. Alright, so I'm going to save this as a my ASCII file. Oh, while the current mesh is partially hidden. Let me just go to a new document. It wasn't talking about the old file, it was talking about this current file I was in. Oh, nothing's hidden. Alright, we're just going to close ZBrush and then open ZBrush again. So now it's going to say, do you want to convert this? And I'm going to say, go ahead and convert it. Turn the lightbox off. And now I can click and drag that model inside here. And if I hold shift, it'll just snap it vertically. Okay. Now before I go and try to touch this and move it and do whatever to it, I have to hit T, which is this edit button. Okay. So now I could spin around the model and do whatever I want to do. Alright, so now I could tweak it. So whatever I want to do to kind of sculpt on this thing, I could do. So if I want to go to my brushes and I want to, let's say I want to go to the smooth brush. There we go. The smooth brush is just holding shift, so I don't need to actually go to that. And then I can kind of smooth it out. I could take my intensity down while I'm holding that and just soften it a little bit more. I can go to my clay buildup brush and I could add little bits of clay here. I could hold down Alt and subtract some clay bits here. I could hold down Shift again, kind of smooth this out. So you don't have to do a lot of tweaking to this, but I do want to see that, you know, you did something inside here besides just bringing it in and exporting it. Okay, and this is where you could really start to tweak those shapes that you got. Now this one, there's not a whole lot of detail to it. I'm going to use the Damien standard brush just to add a little crease line right here. There we go. Okay, so pretend I go through and I'm playing around with this. I have a couple videos on YouTube that you can go through for ZBrush stuff. If you want more ZBrush modeling videos. With this one, I just want to go through just what I want you to do with it. Okay. If you don't like the choppy edge like that, because that's kind of like ugly, you can go to the trim brush. If I hit T in here and I say trim curve, hit OK. I'm going to hit Control Shift twice. Control Shift and then hit Control Shift again. And then I'm going to click and drag. Now when I do this, what it's going to do is it's going to allow me to basically trim off anything where it's pointed in that direction. So where the dark is, it should delete that. There we go. So Control Shift again, click and drag. I'm going to spin around here. Now the only sucky thing is I believe if I get too close to it like this, just to show you, Yep, see how I cut that off too? So you gotta be kind of careful with those areas. I also want to make sure that when I go to this, that my Z intensity is up. There we go. So I may want to also hit it like this on these corners. There we go. Now I could also go into my brush, and there's a trim lasso, which is right here. Control Shift twice. I don't know why you have to do it twice, just do. And this will allow me to just highlight an area to trim off. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Yep, see, it didn't work that time. Let's go to a different trim. Trim circle. Yes. Yep. So you can see how I can trim off these corners if I want those corners trimmed off. If I hold down Control Shift like this, and then I hit Alt, it'll actually do the opposite. Oops, I lied. Yep, so it didn't trim that area, it like filled it in. So it has its application, not in this case, obviously. I could hold down Shift, maybe smooth this out. Oh, it still looks kind of chunky there. I may need to add more divisions. It's only 36,000, so I can hit Control D. And smooth that out some more, okay? So in this model, we're not getting, obviously, a whole lot of stuff in it, but it is still kind of cool. We see the cape inside there that we could play with. This works with a tablet also, so if you have a tablet, or you want to borrow one while you're in class, you can grab one from the other room, or I'll grab one from the other room for you. There we go. Alright, so let's say we're ready to print this thing. Okay, so then I would go up to my Z plugin, and then I could say 3D print. Okay, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5 inches. Typically that's going to be a good size. Whatever you see here, that's what's going to print. So if you don't like the fact that this is like hanging over, you may want to go through and trim that, because I don't like the way that looks. I want to make sure this is kind of even. That's better. Okay, so now I'll go back to Z plugin. I'll go back to 3D print exporter, and then I'll say STL. And then what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to export out what's called an STL. The STL is a print file. So, like I said, whatever we see here, that's what it's going to print. So I want to label this what my name is, 3D print. And then you can put a 01 if you plan on printing more than one thing. Okay? So when you turn this in, that's what you're going to be turning in is your ZBrush file and your STL file. Okay? And then when you save your ZBrush file, you just hit Control S. Don't go to this Save As. Don't go under Document Saved. Hit Control S to save. This is still exporting. And then just so you can see it too, in Maya 2017, there is a Send to Print Studio. This is like a new feature. So anything you've modeled inside of Maya, you can actually export it out of 2017 as a printable item. And there's also an After Effects live link. Okay, so like one of the things with Maya is that, or with Cinema 4D, is that it's linked to After Effects so easily. Well, now Maya will be linked to Cinema 4D also. All right. So on the server, when you're ready to go with it, just go to the right folder. This, turn in. You will have a 3D print. And ZBrush. Okay, so you'll turn in your 3D print and ZBrush file into here. There we go. Files were successfully exported. So then what I'm going to do, and when I get a couple of these, we'll go over to the room where we do have the 3D printer, and I'll show you how I load the stuff on, and then how we can actually send it off to print. But I load it up onto the computer. We have some other stuff that we have to set up on there. And then we just take this STL, and it just loads it in that thing, and we can change the scale of it there if we need to. We can rotate it if we need to. We can't do any modeling changes, but we can kind of tweak the orientation of it. Okay, so we started off with 190 megabytes. We got it down to 9 megabytes, and then we're sending over a 20 megabyte STL file. Okay. Cool. All right. So